A new poll from Finder shows 1 in 5 mortgage holders, or 500,000 Australians, will struggle to meet their mortgage repayments if there is a 3% interest rate rise. Joining us now for our Wednesday chat, the Executive Chairman of Yellow Brick Road Home Loans, Mark Bouris. Mark, sounds like a lot of people, and that probably doesn't surprise that many that so many would experience those problems if interest rates were to get that high. Is that the mail that you're working on at the moment?
Pretty much. So if you consider what happened last year and the year before, about 40% of all borrowers actually took fixed rates, and fixed rates at that time were like sub 2%. Those fixed rates were for 2 and or 3 year periods, sometimes 4 year periods, but rarely, but mostly for 2 and 3 year periods, which means most of them are going to expire around now or later this year and then the year after in 2023. If you go from a fixed rate of 2% to a variable rate, which generally happens, to a variable rate of close to 5% or 4.5%, then you're in for a significant increase. So really what we're probably looking at here is from go to woe around about $1,000 extra per month. So for an average borrower, an average borrower has $150,000 with income, that means they can borrow $750,000. That means they're taking home after tax $8,800 every month. They're going to be paying close to half of that when their fixed rate turns into variable rate. Half that amount of net money is going to be paid on their mortgage every month. That's a big deal.
So do you suspect there'll be urgent sales around the corner?
No, I suspect that the Reserve Bank will probably reduce rates to take that pressure away.
Right.
So, look, there will be urgent sales, yes, but I don't think it's going to be across the border. I'm not suggesting some sort of mortgage pandemic.
A collapse.
I think what will happen, and this is what's sort of been predicted around the traps, is that the rates will start coming off around June, July next year, 2023, and there's probably a decrease back to around 2.25% cash rate.
Okay, so that's interesting because there are some expectations now that there had been these predictions. ANZ led the charge a couple of months back by suggesting, we're heading 3.25, perhaps 3.3 by the end of the year. You're pulling that back. You never went there, by the way, to be fair to you. You always said about 2.6, right, by the end of the year. It sounds like you might be on the money, pardon the pun, Mark Bouris.
Well, I sort of talk to people all the time, and I'm probably sort of hanging around the weeds too much, but I do get to find out what people earn, and I got a sense of these things. And by the way, as I've said to you plenty of times, Pete, that money markets overshoot all the time. So they overshot last year on how long the low rate was going to exist, and they are overshooting this time on how long the high rates are going to go for. So, and if you look at the money markets today, the money markets are still saying a cash rate of 3.35%. Yet if you go and look at what CBA is saying, no, we don't agree with that. CBA is saying we think the cash rate is going to be closer to 2.6%. So from here, from 1.85% today to 2.6% means we're looking at another 0.5% increase and then maybe one more 25 base point increase, and we'll stop there.
Yep.
I think that's probably a sensible place to go between here and December this year. Then Reserve Bank has a look next year.
We're seeing some figures out too where the biggest drops in home value have been recorded right across the land. Are we starting to see bargains in Point Piper, Mark?
I'm not sure if they're bargains, but they are certainly six-figure reductions. We're looking at $700,000 reductions in sort of average house prices dwelling prices being sold at Point Piper, and $600,000 up there in Queensland, and Manly is also around the $700,000. And, if you go down to Victoria, down to Flinders, you see the sort of $600,000. So we're seeing in 300 suburbs or regions across Australia, PropTrack, which is, tracks property prices, has said there are 300 units of areas in Australia that have reduced by six-figure numbers over the past quarter. That's pretty significant. I don't think I've ever seen that ever in my history. Wow.
So that's the average unit price in Point Piper, now down to about 30 million. Is that about right?
Yeah, it's your territory, Pete. That's probably where you're bidding these days. But you and your brother. But no, I'm just joking, mate. I'm just joking, but by the way, that's what the Reserve Bank wants, because a big component of inflation is the cost of dwelling costs, and it's important to get dwelling costs not only keep rising, but actually to come back. And what's interesting about this, the Reserve Bank made this point, there has been such because prices were going so hard, the developers all started putting a lot of stuff into the pipeline to develop and to build. So there's probably going to be a lot of new housing available over the next 12 months, which has already started a couple of years ago during the good times, which is now going to be available for people to buy now, probably at lower prices, albeit higher interest rates. But it should be much more affordable, which means people should be borrowing less.
Okay.
And that's a good thing for Australia.
Good one. Mark Bouris, good to chat as always. We'll talk to you soon.